Welcome to Fiber Chronicles. I'm Bonnie, and this is podcast number 3. You can find me on Ravelry and Facebook as Fiber Chronicles. I am open to any comments you have for me on either of those two places. My email is fiberchronicles@gmail.com. Today I have works in progress to talk about, and I also have a knit along that I want to discuss. I don't have any finished objects this week. I have been putting a lot of effort into the main work in progress. This is the sock yarn stranded baby sweater. It's the colorwork sweater that then is steeked. I finished the colorwork yoke today. I'm very happy with it. I did have to make some changes to my original plans. Well, originally I'd planned on the brown being the main color all the way, and I decided I'm concerned I won't have enough, but I had a lot of cream, so I put cream in as the main color in the colorwork portion. I had yellow that was going to go where this peachy salmon color is. The yellow did not show up. There was not enough contrast with the cream, so I had to leave that one out. I am still happy with it the way it is. These colors are great, and I can use the yellow in something else. And I just have, I think, about an inch left of the main color before I separate for the sleeves, and then work down the body, and then work down the sleeves. The pattern, because it's a steeking pattern, the collar is separated here, and then it has this steeking section down the center that, according to the pattern, you do this part in the round, and then the next round I'm supposed to start, or I'm supposed to skip those steeked stitches and work flat. Well, I would rather work in the round, so I'm going to continue the steek pattern, the steek stitches all the way down the sweater, and steek the whole thing and do the sweater all the way in the round. It's looking very nice. I like the way I transitioned back into the brown by having the zigzag at the bottom of the blue section. I'm very happy with this. It's moving along very quickly. That's number 1. Work in progress number 2. I cast on, since the last podcast, a pair of socks. I talked about different projects that I wanted to do, and I hadn't decided what to cast on first. Well, I decided on the socks. That was what most of the comments had for me to suggested I do. I have these in this bag that I made earlier this week, which I call the 2 at a time bag, sock bag. It has snaps at the top, a strip across with snaps, and so that when you're not working, you can hook your cables on there, and that holds it nice and securely. Inside, and I'll put better pictures up so that you can actually see, it has a divider in here, and so there are 2 sections, so you can have your balls separate, so there's less opportunity to tangle. And when you put them in there, you will have the yarn coming off from opposite sides of this snap section, so then you snap it, and you don't have the tangling problem inside. I do want to talk a little bit about the balls of yarn. Fortissima Colory Socka Color, I have 2 balls that are the same dye lot of the same colorway. I wanted to start them at the same position like I did. They start at the same spot in the striping. So I started pulling out yarn I like doing center pull. I started pulling out yarn and pulling out yarn, trying to find a place where the colors matched up. I had almost a quarter of this ball pulled out before I discovered that I was never going to get the colors to match up, the stripes to match up, pulling from the center of each of these balls, because they came from different directions. The color stripes did. So, luckily my husband was sitting next to me and he was willing to help me, because I was having a horrible time keeping from tangling the yarn up the quarter of the ball that was already pulled out, as I pulled from the outside of the yarn to rewind by hand the ball, and so that I could have a center pull ball. It worked. They're coming from both. I have two center pull balls. I was able to line them up without much difficulty at all after that, and so that I can have them in my bag with the yarn strands separated, so that no tangling. I have had I've only have about an inch here, or maybe even slightly less, but I have had absolutely no problem with tangling so far. It's an excellent bag. It has the drawstrings, and so that you get it put in, that cable is nice and secure in the snaps. You can pull it closed. There is no way for things to get messed up now. My other two projects are not actually started, but they are in the bags and ready to start when I feel like I have the time and energy to get them started. And I did talk about both of these last week in the podcast. I have my Silverleaf shawl yarn in this one. And if you're interested to see more about them, you can go ahead and look in last week's podcast. I will try to put a picture up of the yarn closer up. This is just a plain zipper bag that I made last week. I'm very happy with it. It works really nicely. In my first project bag that I made, a nice zipper pull bag, which is very handy as well. I didn't know that an actual project bag could be so much better than a plastic grocery bag before, and I started making them. They are awesome. They are so handy. But in here I have the yarn for my Lilletind hat, which is a colorwork hat in a nice Norwegian style, made by Arctic Knits, or the Arctic Knitting Podcast. I really love that one, and I hope to cast it on soon. Those are the ones that I have set up to go. I did have one more project that I had asked about. I decided to put that one off for a little bit, so I don't have that in a bag. That's going to be the one that I do later. That is the Molly onesie dress. Now to the knit along that I mentioned earlier. This knit along is going to be taking place on the ColorworksByDebi Ravelry group, and it is a Japanese lace knit along. I really want to learn Japanese lace. It is so beautiful. I've heard the techniques are slightly different, but not necessarily difficult. So it's something I really want to do, but I have so much already on my needles and ready to go that I'm not sure I'll have the time to do it. So I might end up not doing it. I really would like to. Let me know what you think. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. And if you want to watch more of these videos, please subscribe down below. Feel free to make comments or ask questions.